Scottie Barnes has taken the leap into superstardom, not just on the offensive end, but more specifically on the defensive end of the floor. He has been dominant and was the main reason the Raptors were able to win this game. But it wasn't just him. Jamal Shead, horrific stat line. You watch the game, he was a major reason the Raptors were able to pull out the dub, and we had a bounce back game from Grady Dick and some other players that we will discuss out here in this video. But we have to start. We have to start this discussion, this discourse with Scottie Barnes, who this season has just taken his game to the next level. And in a Raptors game where it was, the Raptors had the lead most of this game, but it ended up being very, very close. The Blazers played a phenomenal game in this one. They started off hot, then down the second quarter, third quarter, the Raptors put their foot on the gas and got a big lead. But down the stretch, got to give credit to Avdia, all these guys out there on the Blazers. They came back, made it very, very tough on the Toronto Raptors, but Toronto was able to pull it out. We'll talk about some of the flaws which allowed the Blazers to get back in this game, but we're starting off with Scottie because this man, in a clutch game, in a clutch opportunity, he was just dominant. You take a look at his stats in this one, and they were fantastic. 28 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 10 of 18 shooting from the field, 3 of 7 from the three-point line, 5 of 7 from the free throw stripe. He was fantastic, had 2 blocks, but again, these stats you might look at and be like, okay, awesome offensive game. Defensively is where Scottie Barnes has established himself. The guy was named Defensive Player of the Month out there in the Eastern Conference for good reason this month, because he had a clutch block, swatting Denny Advia, driving the lane, and, securing this win for the Toronto Raptors. Shead did help on that defensive possession as well, but Scottie locked in on the defensive end, did everything he could to shut down the Blazers on help side defense, on-ball defense, and he's just been absolutely fantastic for this Raptors team so far this year. I mean, people talked about Ingram being the star player, the top guy. Scottie Barnes is still our number one option, the guy that is the key to the city. 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 5 assists for him this season. Remarkably efficient from the field. You see 1.4 steals and 1.6 blocks, and he's doing it on immaculate efficiency because, you have a guy that plays well on a bad team. It's like, oh, how would that translate? How would that be good? Well, Scottie Barnes has, been efficient, has been effective, while the Raptors have been winning games now at this point, and it is just awesome to see. You'd see, 51% from the field, which is solid, 41% this season from the three-point line, which continues to maintain. It's this game, we're how many games into this season? I don't even know at this point. 22 games played for Scottie Barnes, 84% from the free throw line. He has been absolutely fantastic, and is, ranked 9th in the NBA in blocks per game, which is just insane to see from out there from a wing player, and 41st out there in steals per night. So give Scottie Barnes his praise. We tend to talk about, as anyone would, you have your top guys, your top players. They don't always get all the brunt of the talk because, it would be annoying if you only talked about 1 to 2 guys every single day. But Scottie, it might get overlooked the season that he's been having, but it is absolutely fantastic on both ends of the court. And I want to know from you guys, type Y down below if you think it's Scottie Barnes will be an all-star this season, or type N for no, because it's going to be a travesty if he does not make the all-star team. I know him and Brandon Ingram are both making their cases out there on this Raptors squad, depending how quick RJ comes back, how well, the Raptors look with him in the lineup. We'll see how things go, but let me know in the comment section down below. I'll respond to every single comment. But Scottie Barnes, we know he's fantastic. We know he's great, but there are a lot of guys that stepped up in order for the Toronto Raptors to get this win, in order for them to get this W. And you see a lot of players, Immanuel Quickley is the, first guy that, the second fill for this team in this game because, he was knocking down threes at a crazy rate. IQ can sometimes have some absurdly, questionable three-point shot attempts, but tonight they were going down. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and you see why he's confident. Even the games he's missing, when he has games like this, it's why. And the Blazers were extremely hot to start this game. And you see a -7 for Immanuel Quickley. You might be like, oh, it's not that great of a game. It's not that great of a performance. But IQ was really the reason the Toronto Raptors stayed in this game, especially early on. The Blazers were just raining down threes. They were knocking down three-point shots at a crazy rate for the first quarter and a half of this game. And basically, IQ was hitting floaters, hitting three-point shots to keep the Raptors from letting this game get blown open. So even though it's plus-minus is -7 for this game, it was a better performance than that might indicate. So great stuff for Immanuel Quickley. But if we shift our gears, shift focus to the end of this game, when the Blazers were turning it on once again in the fourth quarter, it was a couple guys. Of course, Scottie Barnes, fantastic, elite. That guy for the Toronto Raptors, just raved about him for a long time. A big stretch of this podcast, but it might be weird to say because Jamal Shead's stat line in this one is not good. It is not a good game. You read the box score out there for Jamal Shead. He came out in this one, was not knocking down his shots, went 1 of 8 from the field, got blocked at the rim 3 times, missed his open threes, and had 5 assists still, had 5 steals. You might be like, hey, Ben, I know you're a Sheadhead. I know you're a guy that absolutely loves this guy to death, is the biggest fan of the Jamal Shead fan club, and I'll be the first to admit, he's not been playing that great as of late. He's clearly in a shooting slump. There's a lot of stuff that Shead has to fix about what's going on in his game right now. But you watch this game. You watch what he did, specifically in the last 4 minutes of action in this one. Without Shead on the court, we might lose this game. I'm not saying we will because we had Scottie playing at such an elite rate, but Jamal Shead made some gorgeous passes to close this thing out. Cross court, no looks to Brandon Ingram, making a back cut out there from the weak side corner. Driving in, making just great dimes, great decisions, and making the right plays out there for this team. Feeding those passes, whipping them into the right people. I mean, you see it, you see the field goal shooting, the missing of the 3-point shots and all that, but Jamal Shead was one of the main reasons. Him and Scottie were the main reasons we were able to close this game out. Scottie also made some beautiful passes down the stretch. So giving some love out there to Jamal Shead because he's been struggling as of late. And another guy that has been struggling that does deserve some praise out there in this one is Grady Dick, who tonight's game had a bounce-back performance, and it really came off the fact that he was taking some mid-range shots, wasn't settling, was locked in on both ends of the floor. In 17 minutes of action, had 14 points, 3 rebounds, and went 6 of 8 from the field. A lot of those shots were coming off of cuts, were 2 dribbles in, shooting that mid-range jumper because he missed 2 of his 3-point shots early and then got into a rhythm and knocked down that final 3-point shot. And that is going to be huge for Grady Dick this season because his numbers have been down, especially his efficiency. He hasn't been that great out there from the 3-point line, which is his bread and butter. He hasn't been scoring at an elite rate, and while he's been trying on the defensive end, no one's going to accuse Grady Dick of being a natural lockdown stopper at the NBA level. He needs to, hustle and do that, but he'll never be an immediate plus defender night in, night out. So, Grady Dick hopefully getting the lid off the rim. That has been there for the past few weeks, with tonight's performance. That is a huge, huge positive to see for this team going forward because, I made a video this morning about how Elijah Martin, AJ Lawson, Chucky Hepburn are all guys that are going to be out there in the mix fighting for these minutes against Grady Dick. And if, he continues to shoot the way he has been over the course of the season, then it's going to be a rough go for Grady Dick to stay out there on the court for this team. Jakob Poeltl overtook him out there in the rotation. He did not have the greatest of games tonight. Jakob didn't, 3 points in this one, 1 of 5 shooting from the field. Looked a little bit disengaged at times out there defensively, but still, he's not trying, but, disengaged is kind of the language I'd use out there on that front. But the Raptors need someone to step up. And Ochai Agbaji, again, didn't have a disaster class of a performance tonight. Still missed a couple of open shots. The box score is not going to be that peachy for Ochai Agbaji. He almost subbed in with 3 minutes to go, which I thought would be a bold decision from Darko, but thankfully he did switch it up, put Jakob in, and it was a good coaching decision. But 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He has to knock down open shots. I'm rooting for Ochai Agbaji. He is a pleasure just to watch and interview. Seems like a great guy, but Ochai Agbaji this season, it has been a disaster class in terms of his efficiency, knocking down shots. I mean, his 3-point shooting percentage, it hasn't updated today to include the games that just happened, but 5.3% from the 3-point line. 5.3%. That is 383rd out there in the NBA. That's including these, trash centers out there in the league. I mean, that's just not going to work. That's not going to be what you are looking for a guy that's a 3-and-D wing player. So really, really hoping he's able to have a game where he just explodes from the 3-point line. We've seen him do it out there last season. It's all confidence. Got to take his game to the next level to get back in those areas. So that's the wing position for this team. Your center spot, we did have some good performances out there from these dudes. Jakob Poeltl, 11 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Got some boards. Played off the court a little bit in the fourth quarter, but was important to sub him down the stretch. to have an impact. They ran Colin Murray-Boyle's lineup a little bit extra in this one, and he was really solid in this game. 10 points, 4 rebounds, a couple times on the defensive end. He has such strength. He has such power. But the Portland Trailblazers, they have a lot of guys that are shifty. They have a lot of guys that can, start cooking out there on the wings, and they did get around Colin Murray-Boyle's a ton with these dribble moves, these little hesitations, these shifty plays. I mean, if people haven't been watching, Denny Advia is he's going to be an all-star this season. 25 points in this one, 8 rebounds, 14 assists. He's complaining on different possessions, so I know it's frustrating a lot of people. He missed a few free throws, but he was fantastic out there for the Blazers. And Kamara, I know he's having a bit of a down year, but knocked down 6 3-point shots. You wouldn't know it in tonight's game. Grant looked good. Shaedon Sharpe looked good. I like this Blazers team. A Canadian out there and Shaedon Sharpe showing some love there, but it's the Raptors were able to take a really solid punch out there from the Blazers and get a win, which is huge. It's exactly what you're looking for from this team. So we'll see how things end up, playing out for this squad, for this Raptors group going forward. We have a very intense game coming up. In a couple days, facing off against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Raptors right now, in terms of our standings, looking at how things are shaping up, they're back to the number 2 seed. You pass the Miami Heat. So getting some wins are going to be key, and beating the LA Lakers out there on Thursday would be a huge momentum booster, momentum swinger, because after that game, you face a lot of teams that things are going right. If the momentum's rolling your way, you should be able to beat the Hornets, beat the Celtics, beat the Bucks, beat the Celtics again, beat the Nets, and then, you face the Heat later on, in December. So Lakers going to be the biggest game of the season so far. I mean, each game becomes bigger and bigger as the season goes along. So facing Luka, it should be a good test for the Toronto Raptors, and I'm excited to see what they're able to do, because you beat the Lakers, you're proving you are worthy of that number 2 seed out there in the Eastern Conference. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys are the best to make it as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. We are on that goal, that road to 41,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can get there before Christmas. Anyways, 50,000 by the end of the season. We'll see if it happens, but I appreciate every single one of you. I'm signing out. Cheers.